Yeah, I think Jim is he's an excellent coach and has a lot of great experience, and sometimes he gives me different ideas of different ways to look at things. And I think he's done a great addition to that aspect of it, and I think he's really done a good job of getting the linebackers to play downhill and being aggressive. And yeah, it does help a little bit with having an experienced guy that has a little bit of knowledge and been a head coach, been a defensive coordinator, been in the pros and been a head coach. So it's definitely a positive thing for me.
Have you noticed a significant change with how the linebackers have looked in practice based on having two coaches now working with them as opposed to just one?
Well, I think it's obviously that's helpful, but I also think it's the growth of the kids. I mean, obviously Kirksey and Mitch were not redshirted. I mean, I don't believe James was either. So it's a very hard thing to do. Is just think if they were a year either coming up and being seniors, which really they only should be in their junior year. And the experience of the history of our program is obviously, the longer you're in the program and you're in there for your 5th year, you're going to be a better player than you were as a junior. You're really a junior, and walking out the door. So I think that's probably helped them of understanding what is going on.
Yesterday, a couple of players left the secondary. How does that affect your depth?
Well, I think the two guys that left. Obviously Kevin Buford got a chance and played a little bit in some games, a special teams game, maybe a little bit of a dime or nickel package last year. And then Tori Campbell chose to go on and go pursue track. I just don't think, I don't know how much it's really going to affect us. I mean, obviously in recruiting next year, we're going to take some more guys in the secondary. That's about it. But it wasn't like they were projected as a starter at the time. So I think the other guys have to move on. I think Rich Fleming and Draper are going to really have to push a little bit to help us out.
That said, in the past, you've played a lot of true freshmen, either on special teams and then kind of fill-in roles at times. Do you feel like you've got enough depth in the secondary where you may be able to avoid that to some extent?
In the secondary, we might be able to avoid that. We might have to use 1 or 2 guys. I think 1 probably at the most. You hate to do that. I mean, you look at it, if somebody wants to play early, they want to play on special teams, let's get involved in the game, especially in Kinnick Stadium. So you sit there and say, okay, well, you're going to actually take 990 snaps, in special teams for the year, or you're going to play a full-time and you're going to take 900 to 1,000 snaps. I mean, what do you think you want to do? And they don't understand that, but there's a lot of peer pressure back at home, heavily recruited, heavily not, why aren't you starting, why are you not on the field? And I just think we have to educate the kids. I like to redshirt them as much, get them a little bit of growth, get them with Coach Doyle a little bit, get their bodies built for a Big Ten, season.
I don't know how much. I imagine you don't dwell games from last year too much, but I know you look at the film, and I'm wondering if you're looking at the Northwestern game from last year and what King Colby did, and the rushing performance they put on. How do you come back? How do you come back to that? I mean, because a lot of the same guys. You're going to have a lot of the same guys on the field next year against Northwestern.
And if you go back and look at the plays that actually, came out of that, there's obviously some guys are maybe not in the right gap, some guys not taking the right angles and stuff like that. But some of the big plays that came out are just leverage problems and the base football, understanding how to run the ball and how to seek the guys and how you're doing. Sometimes just because you're running fast doesn't mean you're going in the right proper position to go ahead and track a guy. I think a couple of those were broken out because of his bad angles. So you got to teach them the game's about angles, and I think we didn't do a good enough job in that area.
You mentioned Drew Ott earlier and how you had to take the motion off. How this year is he better prepared, do you think, to be a Big Ten football player?
Well, obviously, the strength and the knowledge of being on the field already has been there. So that's not going to be a factor for him, but I think he just keeps on making great improvements. He's out there every day. He's running with the ones a lot, so he'll get a lot of good work. So to me, it does help you in some ways to be ready for the next year, but you look at 3 more years down the road and say, well, you could have him as a full-time starter. I mean, he lost a lot of reps.
With Faith Akakity,
dual threat quarterbacks when you don't have any on the roster during the.
No, because you can always find a skilled guy back there, and put him back in there for that week. So I don't think that's really an option. There's always somebody out there that's probably not working even with the first or second team, they were guys skilled enough that probably a defensive back or a wide receiver type of guy, or maybe even a running back that maybe did it in high school, so they just put them back there. Really, they're reading cards anyways, but their athletic ability to get out there and run, that's what we really try to look for when we're trying to run against some dual threat guys.
When you're talking about Faith Akakides' athletic ability and to move in and out in size, the natural comparison would be somebody like Christian Ballard because he was able to do that.
Yeah.
Is that a fair comparison, at least athletically at this point?
Athletically, it's we mentioned that the other day. It's probably about the same. Just Christian Ballard was a little bit taller, but bigger, massive, but and height-wise, but very similar. I mean, we thought that it was about the same thing about 4 or 5 days ago.
Will this defense go as far as the defensive line can take it, or the things you can do to sort of boost them and help? Is there still one young and most experienced group you have?
Yeah, I think our linebacker group is with them guys in control, I think that's going to help us. And I think the maturity of our defensive line, I think Dominic Albus and Carl Davis, and even Drew Ott, even though he's young, I think he's starting to mature a little bit. And you got Louis that hasn't practiced, which I think he really helped us out last year and did a great job. And then you have Cooper, so I think we have a little bit more depth up front. I think the linebackers coming on, and Quentin Osby for a linebacker, he's really coming on. You have Marcus Collins and Cole Fisher at linebacker, so everybody's kind of growing. I think it's how can we build the team to come together as a unit? And I thought I'd seen that the last couple practices that I was impressed with. Not to say we did everything perfect, but I like the